The summer is starting to heat up. We talked about a couple of slower weeks, if you will, particularly last week outside of the Saratoga Diana card, but not this week. We've got the Haskell card at Monmouth. We'll talk about that. We've got Del Mar opening up. We're going to dive into that more from a general perspective, maybe get you ready and excited for the meet. Saratoga, of course, running. We're going to skip Saratoga this week. It's the Haskell, it's Del Mar, it's Horse Sense up next.
Welcome back to another episode of Horse Sense, and welcome if you're joining us for the first time. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined alongside professional speed walker Scott Shapiro for a big week in racing this week. We've got the return of Preakness winner Journalism, second place Derby finisher Journalism in the Haskell at Monmouth. Woodbine's got a big day. Del Mar is opening. I mean, there's truly something for everybody, and even some turf sprints on the calendar, thank God, this week. To go with those, we've got a real slew of promotions from Xpressbet and FirstBet, as you'll see along the bottom of your screen here, all headlined by a $5,000 hit and split at Monmouth. Make sure you check out the promos pages for details there. We've got a 2 million first rewards points hit and split at Woodbine. We've got daily cash back in race 7 at Saratoga every day they're racing this week. We've got a sweepstakes to send you up to Red Shores for their Gold Cup and Saucer in August. I mean, truly something really for everybody. The calendar is absolutely packed full this weekend. So it's going to be a great week. What are you most excited for, Scott?
Well, the good news or bad news, well, one way or another, if you like to fade my picks, it's a good news as well. But I'll have an article out on all three of those promotions. By the time this video gets up, I probably will be convinced that I'll have a Monmouth late pick 4, late pick 5 article up to the hit it and split it point that you made there. I will have a Saratoga spot plays article up tomorrow, meaning Friday. So a lot of you, that would mean today. That'll include a play in race 7 on that card for the money back special, which is an intriguing maiden special way. Lots of first time starters in there. Looking forward to diving in a little more there. And then I'll actually be traveling north to Canada, quote unquote, for the Woodbine Oaks hit it and split it. So plenty of action for me, and then tournament players, plenty of action for them as well. You got the Fun in the Sun tournament getting started. That's Saturdays featuring races at Saratoga and Del Mar. Check out the blog for a more detailed look at that one than just up on the tournament details page at Xpressbet through Jeremy Plunk. And the Haskell Challenge, right, for $1,000 this week. So things are really heating up. And I even heard a rumor that the West Virginia Derby is going to have an inaugural contest in honor of one man that we know that lives closer than either of us. Celebrate West Virginia Day a little bit more than most I know. But yeah, lots going on. And then I'll have my spaces once again this week. Guest will be the one and only, truly, Ed DeRosa. Well, it doesn't seem like it's been that long, and I guess it really hasn't been since the Triple Crown, especially the Belmont Stakes, but we're starting to kind of rev up for the second half of the campaign for all horses, but the 3-year-olds are kind of what sticks out on the calendar. You get the run into the Derby, you get the Derby, Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes, little bit of time off, and then you get the preps for the Travers, and they're big preps, Bailey. This is a $1 million grade 1 prep, if you want to call it that, but clearly, Journalism is hopeful to propel himself to the Travers, where he can meet up again with some of his old friends for another showdown, for a midsummer showdown this time. But he's got, a decently tough task ahead of him in the Haskell, $1 million, 9 furlongs. He's got Burnham Square, who, in the Derby had a terrible trip and still finished 6th, and then really didn't have much of a fair shot in the Matt Win when it was East Avenue really going slow up front, and down on the rail. I thought he was as good as the winner that day. Lost nothing in defeat really in either of those races. And you got Gosker, who almost, I don't want to say shocked the world, but it's pretty surprising when everything that occurred at the top of the lane in the Preakness, and then Gosker has a 5-length lead or whatever it was, 5 lengths. He's in there. And then you have Goal Oriented for Bob Baffert, who always sends something out pretty live from California. But it really does go through Journalism the way I see it. question is, we're not just talking about like the most likely winners as we talk about on this show. We're talking about betting the race based on the odds that are presented with us. So I'm curious how you see this race from that wagering perspective.
Well, we had a similar conversation last week with She Feels Pretty in the Diana, and we definitely got burned there because she did not win. But coming into this race, I mean, I think journalism has a much better shot to win the Haskell than she did in the Diana. And for me, I'm going to build my tickets around that opinion. Taking your advice and what we talked about over the past few months, I have 2 tickets that I would like your input on and audience feedback today, as we have started to, educate ourselves on these kind of wagers. First one, in the race itself, which, okay, this is my one weird, not even stupid bone to pick. The way that we call wagers horizontals and verticals, I think that they should be flipped. And I think that horizontals should be, I think that they should be the other way. I don't know who made this decision. And I just think this is something that I find funny. But I'm
horizontals because you're putting a horse over a horse. That's like 2
I know, but
it
was the other way.
Verticals because it's 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's just the way you write it out.
I know it's the way you write it out, but I think of it as sequentially, looking at a program. So the races are in this order, and then verticals should be that way instead of horizontals the other way.
Well, you from experience, you definitely have your own interpretations of things. So,
sometimes I'm right, so maybe this is the one. Let me know.
Maybe so. I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I think it just is the way it's been, kind of deal. So
I think it's the same kind of thing if you think about the way that you move through time. But anyway, I digress. We were here.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change. What do you like here, bet wise?
Bet wise, cold exacta journalism over. Okay, you have to pick one price horse, decent price horse, because that's the only way that you're going to get some money in the exacta. I don't think that you can beat journalism. I mean, clearly he's the class of the field here and has beaten some of these horses before. The actual singular price horse is the one where I get a little bit stuck. My brain says that this could be the day that Burnham Square puts it together and can finish in the exacta here. But are we going to get better value come post time, not the way that the odds are now, on Burnham Square or Gosger?
Wait.
Gosger, what?
Okay, keep going. I'll just pick it up from there.
Okay, thank you.
You were going to say Burnham Square and Gosger. Yeah.
Burnham Square and Gosger. Gosger was 19-1 going into the Preakness, had that incredible run. I mean, sitting there on the third floor of Pimlico, I truly thought that he was going to win that race. But, all that trouble in the turn and everything, it was freaking insane. But at the windows, if we're playing smart and we're not trying to stretch our budget out too much, we have to keep it to one horse. And you could play 2 different exactas and weight your bankroll towards one or the other, more units, whatever, if you wanted to. I'm going to try not to do that and just pick one. Between Burnham Square and Gosger, who do I go with?
Well, I mean, let's go back to the way you're phrasing this. Those aren't price horses when it comes to an exacta. When journalism's on top. So it doesn't really matter how you say it. It matters what you end up betting. But when I think of someone looking for a price, and you don't need to find a price. If you're playing a cold exacta, you just play it cold. I would disagree with the idea that you can weight those 2 because they're probably the second and third choice. Goal oriented might get bet because of Baffert, but it's going to be those 2 and that one. So I really think you should pick one of the 2. I think that's a tough call, and it's why I would not personally play an exacta in the race. I agree with you that journalism. Yeah, I would, if for me to want to attack the horizontals, aka verticals for you, I don't want to confuse the others out there.
No, don't confuse everyone. Say it the normal way.
I would need to think that I could get one of the non-Gosger, Burnham Square, or goal oriented into the mix. When I say into the mix, I mean I would play the exacta if I thought I could beat one of them. If I thought for sure that Burnham Square was going to run second, then I could, I wouldn't have a problem. But I don't have a strong enough opinion. I think either of those could run second. I wouldn't be surprised if goal oriented did. But the problem is, I would be kind of surprised if anybody else did. So to me, this is not a race that I'm going to bet from that perspective unless I like somebody. And the problem with that to me is, all the other horses look like they're going to get compromised, on the lead. And this does look like it's a little bit of a chalky race. So that wouldn't be the way I attack this race. from that perspective. But doesn't mean that you can't decide to play a cold exacta. But you do need, in my opinion, you do need to make a decision between one or the other. And if you don't feel strong enough, you just don't make that bet.
Can we talk about Kentucky Outlaw for a second? Is that one that you would play under journalism as kind of an actual swing for the fences here?
He would be the one. This is a horse that I've actually followed quite a bit because we've I think we covered both the Federico Tessio and the Long Branch on the First Call podcast with Jeremy Plonk. And I mean, this horse was really impressive in his first 2 starts. I just don't think he's got it mentally strong enough, and he's drawn to the outside, and I think he needs to go. And you've got Bracket Buster and Wild Crazy Night, to his inside. So I don't think it's going to work out for him. I do think he's got some, interesting upside, but maybe he already peaked as well. So the only thing I would say, though, it's a horse that I followed, and I think he has some talent. So this would be the shot to bet him, in some capacity, because he's rarely going to, if he runs well here, he's never going to be close to this price again.
No, never. I mean, is there a way that this sets up that journalism doesn't win? I think the post-position draw for him is probably perfect, the way that he just wants to sit off like this and then run them down. You've got plenty of speed horses in here that are going to set God knows what fractions, all trying to eyeball each other out for this lead here. But then, I mean, in what scenario does he lose the race?
Well, I think the scenarios where he doesn't win the race are 2. I think the likeliest to beat him if he runs the same races he's run would have to be Gosker, because we haven't seen his, I would say he has unlimited upside. It doesn't mean I think he's the next Secretariat. He just hasn't, he's moved forward and he's lightly raced. And he's kind of answered the call so far. Now, I think he's also been the beneficiary of 2 good trips. So to me, it's Gosker can be journalism if journalism runs similar races. He's the only one that I think can do that. And then the other scenario would be, if journalism has traveled a lot and raced in a lot of races, he's the only one that ran right in the Derby, Preakness, and Belmont. He's never not shown up. At some point, maybe he doesn't show up. This is a new track for him, a lot of traveling. It's probably not the ultimate goal. The same point, though, they didn't have to run in this race at all. And they kind of, I hate to use the cliche, but they let the horse kind of tell him to take him there, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to get a really good setup here. I guess the other thing is if it's a real speed favoring track, which is known to be, potentially be the case at Monmouth, but I don't have any desire to bet against them.
In the next race number 13, the Turf Claimer here, I'm going to try to play a double, singling journalism with a horse in the next here. Obviously, we're filming this on Thursday morning, and we don't have morning line prices yet. Do you have any indication, based on your years of experience, what we might be able to get on the number 1, the rail horse, Arak? I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah. For Joan Milne and Jose Gonzalez. He's got, I'm hoping that it can be somewhat
maybe middle of the road if he, he's only raced 3 times on the turf. But probably, maybe, I don't know. They've had him on the dirt recently. Excuse me. I don't know if they're hoping it comes off by chance or if not. It should be a medium price. I think there's a couple in here for sure that are going to take more. So if you play a cold double like that, it would definitely be worth your while.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this trainer, I'm going to try to beat Irad on the Carlos David horse, the number 2 Draken. But Joan owns a full service breeding and layup and veterinary clinic farm with her husband, and she has a very small string. She's driving 65 miles one way each day just to come to Monmouth. She gives a very small string. So the fact that they claim this horse and then are running back here based on the fact that she doesn't run a bunch tells me that they must be pretty confident.
Where is she located?
They're in New Jersey as well. I don't remember the name of the exact town, but I think it's Sterling Farm is the name of their farm. Her husband's a veterinarian. They have a surgical clinic there. They do a whole thing.
A lot of farms around here, so yeah.
Yeah, and she's got a small string. So that alone, you're not going to see that. You just see the 0%
inside info. Like nothing. 0 for 14 on the year, so that will help your price. Knowing that she's more capable than that number might suggest. So I like it. So a 2-1 cold double for you. All right. I think Dracona is the one to beat. I don't know if he's going to be the favorite in there. But that to me looks like a 2-2 double. I think Mailman Money, first off the claim for Ness, on a quick glance, will probably go favor. That horse was in, I think that horse won the Pate Mile or something. He didn't win the Pate Mile, but he was in some big races. But yeah, it's Stracone for me in there, race 13. He'll be one of the favorites. But like Bailey said, no morning line odds out as of yet. Well, Bailey, one place that was home on multiple stints, and the first place I ever did any sort of public handicapping thing that I ran was Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. I lived 5 miles away for 5 years. That was fun. And then I lived between First Racing Santa Anita Park and Del Mar for my most recent stay when I had the seminar. I miss it, to say the least, although it's a little more chaotic out there than it was when I was there. Lots of things are the same. I'll ask you this before we get into the wagering chatter and, stakes chatter. Have you ever been?
No, I haven't. It is very high on the list of racetracks that I would like to go to. I mean, how many other tracks do we have that are like practically on the beach like that? It's insane. And sometimes they do like show jumping series out that way, and you can see the ocean in the background.
Yeah, there's a track because they have the fairgrounds there right next to it, because they have the big fair there. It's the county fair. I don't know. It might be bigger than. It's a huge fair that was kind of it happens in the summer before the Del Mar meet. But yeah, it's a must. It's a very unique track. Like you said, it's literally right. It's right off the freeway, but the ocean's right next to the. So you're literally borderline at the ocean. And it's interesting because, to us, many of us, that's, close to or one of the ideal temperatures. Some horses don't like it, particularly. I remember when I was out there one year, Mark Cassidy brought a string, I think from Canada at the time, and they all got sick, and they didn't.
Really?
It's a long time ago, and I don't want to even commit to knowing exactly what happened. I just remember, and this is not the only time these horses, and there's other horses that run much better at Santa Anita where the marine, it's not a marine temperature. So I'm sure you're aware of that, but I don't think you've ever lived in a marine temperature and taking care of horses. So, but that's one thing to keep an eye out on. Horses for courses or horses for course it's kind of a real thing at Del Mar, in my opinion, more because of the air and what the air's impact on the track is more than
it's so humid and sandy.
It's not humid at all,
Really?
Oh yeah, there's no humidity really there. I mean,
there's not much in Southern California, period.
No.
I think I'm only thinking about Florida beaches where it's kind of
humid,
or
that's the total
Georgia where I grew up. I'm not used to California beaches.
Total opposite. It looks the same on TV because of the palm trees, but it's not.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about what we do at First and Express, First Bet and Xpressbet, and that's bet. Well, me and you do more, but we like to talk about betting because that's what we do. And there's some new bets at Del Mar, and then I'm going to mention one that people forget about. That's an old fave for personal reasons. But let's talk about the new ones, and then I think you've got a couple of thoughts on some big races you're looking forward to. But middle pick 4 on races 4 through 7 on the weekends. Really not much to discuss there from a strategy standpoint or why we like it or don't. It's just an additional option to leverage your opinions during that portion of the card if you happen to like the races that are in there. In the past, they're on the bigger cards on the weekends. There might be a race or two that was 11 race card. There'd be a race that wasn't included in either pick 5. Now there'll be something pick 4, pick 5, pretty much chaotic like most racetracks to be able to leverage your opinion. The other 2 new ones are a little bit more intriguing to me or noteworthy. I think taking after Santa Anita, the $3 minimum late pick 3 and the $5 late daily double, both 15% takeout, and both have that max higher minimum. And I think those wagers are worth highlighting. Have you, is it something that, did you play in any of those at Santa Anita this winter?
Yeah, I played in some of the pick 3s at Santa Anita. As a self-proclaimed new big doubles fan, like you've heard me talk about on here, if you've seen literally any of our Horses episodes before, that $5 late daily double is very intriguing to me, especially it's not a true late daily double like we just talked about in our Haskell sequence, but especially when you can get a stakes race into kind of a different level of a race and hopefully go price shopping there. I really like to close out the day with the daily double. It's something to look forward to at the end of a card. The $5 minimum is not too much of a con for me. I mean, I'm not playing $500 tickets out here or anything, but like if you have some strong opinions, you can really get creative with that one. So that one, and then expanding into a pick 3 is pretty friendly as well. So I'm into those for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, people might say there's daily doubles on every card, Bailey, at the end of the card. Well, it's the $5 minimum and the 15% takeout that makes it less diluted. It's a lot harder to spread. You're not going to get people just throwing in horses, to throw them in. Oh, it's only a couple more bucks. I can afford them. That's not a good wagering strategy as a horse player. But
as we talked about a million times.
Yeah, but it still dilutes the payouts, and that's why smaller denominations. And I don't got to tell you why takeouts better. Anytime they take less the track and takes less money out of the pool, that means more money goes back to the winner. So yeah, those are two favorable ones. And the second day, I didn't. I've got work to do on these cards. Definitely want to look at some of the bigger races on Friday, the Oceanside particularly, but on Saturday I did dive into a couple of the stakes races. Not totally finished, but I did notice that the San Clemente kicks off that $3 late pick 3. So
that's
to your
nice.
point, you get a grade 2 on the turf. And Bailey, I love when their rails are the temporary rails are not set up. I love this turf course. It is like I'm not really into European racing, but I do enjoy the mad sprints. I just wish I could tell who everybody was for home, but I can at Del Mar, and they're mad sprints because it's it's wide. That turf course gets really tight when the rails are out, but when they're not, it definitely it's tough to wire out fields. And I'm looking at this. You get two good allowance races right after it. So that'll be the first.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, first $3 minimum late pick 3 I'll play. But what are you excited for, even though you've never been there?
Even though I've never been there, I do enjoy watching it. I did want to give a quick shout out to my friend Devin, who runs the Del Mar social media channels. If you guys haven't checked out any of those, you're really missing out because she does an incredible job. We work together on a couple other projects, and they and their team are absolutely fantastic and crushing it. So pick your social media platform of choice.
When did she start?
I think she started doing that last year. Was when it really picked up.
There was a girl that was there.
A woman.
Yeah, there was a woman or a girl that was there the whole time I was out there, and I know she was there. Maybe it's her boss now. Maybe she left. I'm not sure.
Maybe they've always done a pretty good job, but they've really stepped up perfectly on trend. Like there's a lot of participation from jockeys in different interviews and stuff. They are really, really crushing it. So if you work for a racetrack and you want to know a shining example of what to do, Del Mar is very much on top of it. But beyond that, like you mentioned, we've got some stakes this weekend. There are 38 stakes on the calendar for the Del Mar season right now that runs July 18th through September 7th. And 3 of the big ones, obviously the 3 biggest ones that anybody will take a look at, are all Breeders' Cup win you're in races. The Breeders' Cup, of course, coming back to Del Mar this year. So I will be specifically keeping an eye out for horses in those races. Like you mentioned, this is really a horse for course place, and that ties so perfectly into the Breeders' Cup coming back. So the first one is the Bing Crosby sprinting on July 26th, which we will have a $5,000 hit and split on that card. Pools to be determined a little bit later, but that is coming up in the pipeline there. Then for fillies and a win and you're in for the distaff, we've got the Clement Hirsch on August 2nd. That's a mile and 16th for the distaff, hopefully seeing some of those big race mares. And then as always, the Pac Classic, the Pacific Classic, is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Classic. So that one, especially the way that the weather and everything plays at the end of August, coming into November here, Halloween weekend, the 1st of November, with the horse for course angle. Anybody that likes the Pac Classic will hopefully like the Breeders' Cup Classic, and then we'll kind of see what field we've got from there. So those are the big 3 on the calendar, and of course we'll have promotions to go along those August races in the Del Mar season.
The Pac? I've never heard it called the Pac Classic.
That's literally not true.
No, it's true.
You've never heard it called the Pac Classic? Maybe it's
a southern thing. Is that what you guys call it in Georgia?
I do not believe you at all that you have never.
Oh, I really have not. I want to highlight. I swear I haven't. I want
Okay.
to I want to highlight my favorite wager in the world, even though it's not been lately, but my first ever huge hit, and then I scooped the pool there. So 2 of my 3 biggest hits come in
Those are
this
spots.
wager, and this wager really doesn't exist anywhere else anymore. It did at certain places from time to time. Maybe Hawthorne still has it, but it's the dollar place pick all. Do you know what it even is?
No, I've never heard of that. Just like you've never heard of the Pack Classic. Please tell me
I've
about it
heard
right
of the
now.
Pack Classic. I never heard a call of that. I know what you were talking about. The
Mhm.
place pick all is, instead of having to pick the winner of every race on the card, or the last 10 races on the card, you have
10?
to pick a horse that finishes first or second. So place.
Yeah.
Seems like it's I mean, it's really hard, but
And how many races is it?
well, it's the whole card unless there's more than 10.
Oh, girl. We did, when I was at Kempton Park in February last year in England, we did a place pick 5 that they have over there.
They have them over there, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen a pick 10, the whole
Yeah,
card.
so I mean, there's some days where it gets, a couple favorites are out of the top 2, and you can really, and you're alive. So I hit for 40 out of the 50 grand in August of 2003. Wish I had that money. And then the pool gets smaller every year because people don't know about it and play it. But I hit it one year, and it was the whole thing, and it was like 21,000.
That's so cool. I did not even know
it's a fun way.
that.
I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy. Obviously, I'm
Hell
not
no.
because of those. But I mean, I remember how elusive hitting the first one was, and my first one was like $150 that I hit.
Yeah.
So that's a wager that I'll, you gotta look at the whole card type deal and like enough have it. But I would only play that, if I think some favorites are vulnerable.
As always, thank you so much for watching another episode of Horse Sense. I'm Bailey Armour and was joined alongside my co-host Scott Shapiro as we talked all things Haskell and then Del Mar opening on Friday, July 18th. Make sure that you check out all the promotions on the Xpressbet and FirstBet websites this weekend, and good luck in your Haskell plays. Let us know if you're going to play with or against journalism in the big race on Saturday, and good luck.